Hello everyone. Thank you so much for watching this video. On behalf of EduRise Global, I'm super glad to be doing this EduRise lesson for all of you today. This is going to be a really exciting lesson, I promise you. The topic of this lesson today is the universe and solar system, brought to you by EduRise Global. So adding a bit of context to this topic. So this is the first lesson of the first term of the social science geography part, and this is the first lesson, of course. So we thought of doing this lesson, and it's personally a very interesting topic for myself, understanding about the universe and the solar system, and a lot more about what's happening, what's in the space, right? So let's get started with the today's lesson. So there are 4 objectives for today. There are going to be a lot of information. There's going to be a lot of new things that we will be learning today, and these are going to be the 4 topics, like 4 objectives, right? The first one is to know about the formation of the universe. So we're going to understand about how the universe has started, how it all started, right? So that's going to be super exciting for sure. The second one is to differentiate between the members of the solar system. So if you're wondering like what is solar system, that's what we're going to be covering today. The third is to understand the motion of Earth and its effects. So we're going to be seeing what is the motion of Earth and what are the effects does it have on all of us, on the world around us, right? And the next thing is to learn about the different spheres of Earth and their interaction with each other. So the Earth has different spheres, and we're going to understand about how they are all interconnected and actually provide us a living environment in our world today, right? So let's get started. So I have a question. I have a couple of questions for you. The first question is, how do we say our address, right? So what is our address? So you could actually think on your mind. The second question is, do you know about the origin of Earth, right? So these are going to be 2 questions that I have for you. And my request is, take a piece of paper or open a new window or open a notepad in your computer, or if you have a paper in front of you, like use it to write down your address, right? I'm sure if you are a student, if you're watching this, it's going to be really helpful. Like if you don't know your address, please go and ask your parents, right? Please pause this video at this point, go and ask your parents in case if you don't know. In case if you know, please pause, take a moment and write down your address on a paper, right? I hope you pause and then we'll continue. Okay, so I hope you have actually answered the answer to the first question. The second question, of course, is to create curiosity among you. How do you know about the origin of Earth? So that's what we are going to be exploring today, right? So I hope you have an address in front of you, that is your house address. And let me put it in this way, right? So let's say you are someone who's residing in the Ranganathan Street, right? Ranganathan Street is quite popular. It's in Chennai. It is the shopping epicenter of Chennai. So I'm going to be just typing, let's say you are someone who's actually residing in Ranganathan Street. Yeah. And apparently this Google Earth tool will take us to Ranganathan Street in itself in a 3D mode. So this is going to be something exciting. So the reason I'm asking you to do this is, let's say you have an address for you, right? And how you're going to be writing your address is, the first one will be your house number, followed by which street, whatever street, like in this case, Ranganathan Street. And then you're going to be zooming out a little backward. And then you're going to be writing the area, right? Which zone or area, right? You're going to be residing in T Nagar. And then you're going to be zooming out a bit more. You will be writing what? You'll be writing what is the entire city, right? Which is Chennai. Yeah. I mean, the text in Tamil which says Chennai, also in English now. So the next one is you're going to be writing going a bit more, zooming out, and then you're going to be writing about something like Tamil Nadu, which is the state, right? Let's say you zoom out a bit more. Yeah. You'll be writing which country, which is India, as you see on the screen, right? And then when you zoom out a bit more, you're going to be calling this entire place as Asia, right? And then if you zoom out a bit more, you're going to be calling this as the planet Earth, right? But what happens beyond this? Do you know what's beyond the planet Earth? I mean, people, of course, since we are actually sending letters and receiving letters, and we are receiving parcels like only within the Earth, so we don't need to write which planet we belong to. But ultimately, if we really look at it, right, our real address is this: your home address, your street, your city, your district, your state, your country, your planet, which is the Earth, your solar system, your galaxy, and the universe, right? So this is our real address, and all of us are a part of the universe. No one can actually say like, I mean, we are living in our own city. No, everyone is a part of the universe, and in fact, whatever that we are seeing on Earth is a very small speck, right? It's not even a percentage. So that's how, I mean, the Earth is, and within that we are a super small speck. So that's what we're trying to understand in this lesson. I thought of making it exciting for you, so that's the reason for doing this address. So please know your address. You don't need to write the entire universe, but you could actually know up to till your state or your country, right? Let's get started with how the universe has started. Now all of you know, like, we are a part of the universe, right? So how the earth, how the universe has started was, this was one of the theories. There are many theories we don't really actually know. We are all learning about how the universe has begun, but this is one of the very exciting theories which talks about like how the universe started with a big bang, right? Starting from one simple place which with a very high temperature and a pressure, and how it actually, how collision of two different things has led to such a big and a vast universe, right? So this is how one of the theories that was stated towards how the universe has started. And in fact, there is a separate study, that's a separate area which you can, if you are interested, you could pursue this. This is called as, the study of the universe is called as cosmology. So it's also known as cosmos. And if you are interested, you could go and read more about it online, understand more about it, and try to understand, right? There are many theories, of course, but the one that's actually quite popular and like quite known to a lot of people is the Big Bang theory. Yeah. The next one, we actually got to know about the universe, right, which is super big and it's super expanding. So another very interesting fact is that unlike static things, right, you will say, like, let's say your city is static, right? It's not actually expanding. Of course, people are actually buying new houses at the outer areas and then they're expanding the city. But on the other note, universe is something that's quite expanding, right? It's always expanding. And the, like, some part of the universe, like one specific part of the universe is known as a galaxy, which is a huge cluster of stars which are held together by a gravitational force, very similar to how we are all connected, how we are all pulled together by the earth through a gravitational force. Like, this galaxy is also it's a combination of different stars together. It has a gravitational force. And it's a bit quite interesting, right? Let's say you are actually planning to travel to a city. You're going to be identifying the distance through kilometers, like how many kilometers it is, right? From, let's say, from Chennai to Coimbatore, how many kilometers it is. From Chennai to Trichy, how many kilometers it is. But when it comes to galaxy, they are actually measuring it through a very interesting metric called as light year, right? So light year is the distance traversed by light at a velocity of 3 lakh kilometer per second. So the velocity of light, so that's what they call as a light year. So what's the distance that a light can cover within an year, right? So that's how I think they are actually using as a metric to calculate the number of stars, what's the distance between different galaxies. So I think Andromeda is one of the galaxies that's quite closer to Earth, right? Like Andromeda is one, you could actually read more about it online. The next one is, of course, the solar system. So interestingly, people are saying, like, again, this is something that people are saying, like, around 15 billion years ago, the universe has originated, and the solar system has something that started around 4.5 billion years ago, right? And you could see all the planets of the solar system on the screen, on the slide. So we'll start with Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. So there are around 8 members in this solar system. Of course, the sun is the most important member, which is the like epicenter, right? Which is the center of this specific solar system. And very interestingly, if you look at it, there is this Tamil Sangam literature which actually talks about like sun being the center. So if you really look at it, I think we were able to identify the sun is the center using some of the theories like heliocentrism. But this specific poem in Siruppa Natrupadai. So Siruppa Natrupadai is a Tamil poem, and it actually talks about this specific thing. And in fact, you could actually read this out. Valnira Visumbin Kol Mean சூழ்ந்த இளங்கதிர் ஞாயிறு. So ஞாயிறு is in Tamil, it's called as sun. So they already talk about sun being the center, and this was like, I mean, 2000 years ago, right? So it's quite interesting that we actually know that sun is the epicenter, and we actually started learning more. We started getting excited more about what the solar system is all about, and that's what we're going to be exactly seeing on this specific lesson, right? So let's start with the sun in itself. So sun is a self-luminous star. So if you really look at it, like some people will also see, you could see two major things on the sky, right? One is the sun, the other one is the moon. So moon also, I mean, we could actually see it because it actually, I mean, it actually illuminates some light. But if you really look at it, it's not actually, like it's not actually a place where the light is getting originated. Sun is the place where all the light is getting originated, and in fact, 99.8% of the entire solar system is actually like something that what's actually held by sun, right? So the entire like percentage of like 99.8% it belongs to the sun, and it actually is a self-luminous star. It actually burns, it generates heat, it generates energy, it generates light, right? And the moon, in fact, is actually radiating, is actually reflecting the same light which actually comes from the sun. And to actually make you understand, to help you understand about how big is the sun, right? We could actually fix 13 lakh Earths, right? Very similar to how the Earth is, how big the Earth is. So we could actually fix 13 lakh Earths within the sun. So that's big. That's how big it is, right? So of course, right, the next time when you actually try to see a sun, try to see like how I mean, how actually big it is, how helpful it is, right? It's quite important that all the species are able to live here only because of the sun, because of the light that it generates, which is the source of which is the source of actually the creation in itself, which is the source of the food that we eat every day, right? So let's start with the first planet. The first planet is Mercury. It is the nearest planet to the sun. It's the first member of the solar system. It is an airless and waterless planet. There's no air, there's no water. It does not have an atmosphere, and so experiences extremes of temperature. So when it is cold, it is becoming super cold. When it is heated up, it's becoming super heated up. It has no natural satellites. We will actually look at what satellites are quite soon, right? Mercury can be viewed in the morning and evening with the naked eye. So in case if you are someone who's actually interested in looking at the sky, you could actually view this planet. I mean, you could take help from a couple of things like telescopes or something that could help you to see clearly, but you could also see it with the naked eye. So that's how it is. That's the Mercury. It's quite closer to the sun, and I think a bit closer to the Earth as well, right? Yeah, but this planet is super close to the Earth, and we could actually see it quite often, which is the Venus, and it's the hottest planet in the solar system. So it has the longest rotation period, 243 days among the planets in the solar system. So for someone who's asking what's its rotation, so the planet rotates, usually all the planets rotates in itself and revolves around the sun. So let's say if this is the planet, right, and they actually rotate among each other, and they also revolve around the sun. Sorry for all this example. So this is what I have on my table. So just showed it to you. So what really happens is it rotates in the opposite direction to all the other planets except Uranus. So all the planets usually rotates from west to east, right? So which is the anti-clockwise direction, but Venus actually rotates in the clockwise direction. So it has no natural satellites, very similar to Mercury. So what are satellites? So when we actually see about Earth, we'll we'll actually deep dive into that. And this is the living planet. So this is the planet that we are living in, the Earth, the Mother Earth, right? So it's called as a blue planet or watery planet because 3/4 of the Earth is covered by water. Like with the planet that we are living in, around 75%, more than 75% is of course actually covered by water. The Earth revolves around the sun at a speed of about 30 kilometers per second. So this, it's quite fast, right? So of course we are not able to feel it because we are actually rotating along with the Earth. Life is possible on Earth because of the presence of land, air, and water. So all the three essential things which are quite essential for the human species is available on this specific planet, and that's why we are able to live on this planet, right? And I was telling you about the satellites. So satellites are the other celestial objects which actually rotates around this, which actually revolves around this planet. Of course, they rotate too, which actually revolves around this planet. So, for example, let's say, for example, For Earth, Moon is a natural satellite, and there are so many man-made satellites which we actually put it out over there to see the GPS, to see so many things, right? So these bodies, these celestial bodies, rotate around the planets to get more information related to that. And of course, there are some natural satellites too, like for example, Earth has Moon, right? So that's the thing. Now let's go to the fourth planet. So the next planet we're going to be seeing is the Mars, which is the red planet. So it appears red in color due to the presence of iron oxide on its surface. So it is often described as the red planet. So that's this very interesting chemical called as iron oxide, and it is available in abundance on the surface of the Earth, and that's why it appears red to all of us, right? It also has polar ice caps, very similar to the Earth. There are some common aspects between Earth and Mars, of course. Mars has two natural satellites, namely Phobos and Deimos. So there are two natural satellites, very similar to how Earth has one, which is the Moon, right? So many orbiters and rovers have been launched to explore this planet. So this is quite interesting, and I would recommend you to watch this movie called as the Mission Mangal. I think it was released on 2019. I think you could also watch the movie on Disney Plus Hotstar. So this specific movie talks about this specific like Mars planet and how the project of Mission Mangal was executed by the ISRO, right? So it's quite interesting to watch. You could definitely watch about this too. The next planet we're going to be seeing is Jupiter, which is the largest planet on the solar system. It is the fastest spinning planet in the solar system, of course, and it is called as a gas giant planet. So it's full of gas, and its atmosphere is made up of mostly hydrogen and helium, like the sun. So interestingly, Jupiter has a lot of lot of moons, lot of satellites around it, and it is actually quite popular, right? And it's one of the it's the biggest, largest planet of the solar system as well. So the next planet we're going to be seeing is quite fascinating to see. First of all, I think it's a ringed planet. So Saturn is the sixth planet from the sun and the second largest planet in the solar system after Jupiter. So it is named after the Roman god of agriculture, and Saturn has many rings around it. These rings are huge and are mostly made up of ice, rocks, and dust particles. So we don't need to think like it's going to be super hard, right? Mostly it consists of ice, rocks, and dust. So when you look at it, it looks like really fascinating, but like that's a lot of human efforts too to understand more about this specific planet, because we of course are fascinated by the beauty of this specific planet in itself. The next one we're going to be seeing is I think this is the seventh planet, which is the Uranus, and very interestingly, it's called as a somersaulting planet, and its axis is tilted so much it appears to orbit the sun on its sides like a rolling ball. So I'm going to tell a quick fact, right? So Uranus, usually all the planets are like somewhat tilted on its axis. Like for example, Earth is tilted 23.5 degree, right? Whereas this specific planet, I think this has a tilt of 97.77 degree, which is quite huge, right? So it almost looks like it's somersaulting because the entire planet, let's say if this is the planet, right, and it's going to be tilted like 90 degree, and it's going to be rotating and then revolving around the sun as well. So that's why it's quite interesting, and it's almost because it's quite far away from the sun, it almost doesn't have any heat. It's full of ice again, right? And the final planet that we're going to be seeing is the Neptune, and this is the eighth planet. This is the final planet on the solar system, and of course, this is the coldest planet. So I told you like Uranus is also cold, but Neptune is the coldest, and it is the eighth and the farthest planet from the sun. So there are strong winds on this planet, and it has in fact 14 natural satellites revolving around it. 14 like moons, right? The satellites are very similar to moons in Earth, so they also revolve around it, and it is the eighth and the final planet. So we're also going to be looking at some of the other celestial objects apart from the planets, which are quite exciting and quite interesting for us to know. The first one is, of course, dwarf planets. So some planets, like dwarf planets, are small celestial bodies found beyond the planet Neptune. So they are actually after the Neptune, and they're also very similar to a planet, but they're not actually a planet because they don't necessarily revolve around the sun, and they don't actually fulfill the conditions of being a planet, right? And they're almost spherical in shape, but unlike planets, they can share their orbits with other dwarf planets. So So they don't necessarily share their orbit only with them, right? So they could also share it with other planets. So some of the examples of the dwarf planets include Pluto, Ceres, Eris, Makemake, and Haumea. I hope I actually pronounced them correctly. So these are some of the dwarf planets, and we're also going to be looking at these moons, right? And like moon, which is quite, quite something that we can actually see it every day, and and it is an Earth satellite. So satellites are celestial objects which revolve around the planets. The moon is the Earth's only satellite. It revolves around the Earth once in every 27 days and 8 hours. So you will see actually the two phases of moon, right? One is actually the phase in which it actually grows up. The other phase in which it actually, you slowly see now, moon fading off, right? So these are two different phases, but moon has always been there. It's also revolving around the sun, and that's why all these things are happening. So you could actually read more about moon, of course. The third one are asteroids. Asteroids are small solid objects that move around the sun. So they are found as a belt between Mars and Jupiter. So they are actually found in quite in numbers between Mars and Jupiter, between the fourth and the fifth planet. They are too small to be called as planets. They are also known as planetoids or minor planets. So, but the only thing is they are super small. So that's why we can't call them exactly as a planet. But the thing is that we should actually identify them as asteroids. So that's another thing interesting, of course. And let's look at some of the other celestial objects too. What a comet? So comets are quite interesting. Comets are a celestial object made up of a head and a tail. So the head of the comet consists of solid particles held together by ice, and the tail is made of gases, right? So example is Halley's comet. It's the most famous comet which comes close to the Earth every 76 years. It has actually appeared in the year 1986. Of course, I didn't actually see it, but the next appearance is on 2061. So don't miss it. Watch out for this comet on the year 2061, which is I think 41 years away. Yeah. And the next one is meteor. So meteor is a stone-like or it's a stone-like or a metallic body. So when entering into the Earth's atmosphere, most of them burn, as they often appear as streaks of light in the sky. So they are also known as shooting stars. So this is something that we can see once in a while, right? So these are like metallic bodies on the space, and they actually come towards Earth sometimes, right? And when they strike the Earth's surface, and they make some changes to the appearance of the Earth's surface, they call that meteoroids. So meteors are always available on the space, but when they actually enter into the Earth, when they actually strike the Earth's surface, they are all called as meteoroids, right? So these are the differences of between meteors and meteoroids, and these are some of the celestial objects that we are seeing on this lesson. So quite interesting. And let's quickly look at the motions of the Earth. Now that given that we have actually spoke a lot about the solar system, let's focus on the Earth, right? So as I told you, Earth is actually rotating and also revolving. So there are two things that quite happens with the Earth. What I mean by that is the Earth is spherical in shape. It rotates on its axis, which is an imaginary line that runs from the North Pole to the South Pole, passing through the center of the Earth. The Earth's axis is always tilted or inclined from the vertical by an angle of 23.5 degree, right? It makes an angle of 66.5 degree with the plane of the Earth's orbit. So what really happens? I'll show it to you, right? So let's say if this is the planet Earth. I'm going to be zooming in a bit. So let's say if this is the planet Earth. Now, what you're seeing is the planet Earth being straight, right? And this is what you're seeing on maps, of course, right? So you see a straight thing. But what really happens is the Earth doesn't rotate like this. Now, this is rotating in a 90 degree, right? But what really happens is the Earth rotates on its axis like this. Now, can you see the difference? So it rotates on a 23.5 degree, like this, not like this. Okay, so now this is the difference. So because this happens, a lot more very interesting like seasons happen to all of us, right? That's a summer season, that's a winter season. That's happening because of this specific tilt that's there on the Earth. That's what we're going to be seeing today. So let's quickly look at the rotation of the Earth. So first of all, please understand that the Earth is rotating on its own. I mean, it's also revolving around the sun, but it's also rotating. And this is a spinning movement of the Earth on its axis, which is 23.5 degree. So the Earth rotates from the west to east, which is anti-clockwise, and takes 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4.09 seconds to complete one rotation, one single rotation, which is called as almost a day, right? Almost a day is around 24 hours. But this is what the time that it takes to rotate on its day, which is a day, right? The next quite interesting thing is revolution. And when the Earth rotates around the sun, right? So it is the movement of Earth around the sun on its elliptical path. The Earth takes around 365 days and a quarter days, right? 365 and a quarter days for it to complete one revolution. That's why you will always find like every 4 years, right? And this is 2020, you'll always see like it's a leap year, right? So these quarter day every year, like on set of 4 years together, they actually add up to one day. Like for example, what I'm saying is like, for example, in 2017 there'll be a quarter day, like which is something that's left. We didn't actually account for it. To 2018 there'll be a quarter year, 2019 there'll be a quarter year, and 2020 of course there'll be a quarter. So when we combine all these things together, we call it as a one day, which adds up on February 29 every 4 years, which is a leap year, right? So we also learned about leap year on this specific video. And so that's the other very interesting thing that we could also learn. The perihelion, right, is the Earth's closest position to the Earth. So as I told you, it's rotating on an elliptical path. So when the Earth is closest to the sun, it's called as perihelion, and aphelion is the farthest position of the Earth from the sun. When the Earth is like at the farthest position, we call it as aphelion, right? So these are some things that you should also know. And let's quickly look at some of the spheres of the Earth. As I told you, and this is going to be the final objective for the day. The first one is lithosphere. So it is a solid outer layer of Earth consisting of rocks and soil. So wherever you see land, right, wherever you see land on the Earth, like that's not water, you call it as a lithosphere. It's a solid outer layer. What is hydrosphere? The hydrosphere consists of water bodies such as oceans, rivers, seas, lakes, ice caps on mountains, and water vapor in the atmosphere. So all these things which are related to water, right, they're called as hydrosphere. Atmosphere. So atmosphere is the envelope of air that surrounds the Earth. Different types of gases makes up the atmosphere. The major gases are nitrogen, oxygen. The other gases are carbon dioxide, hydrogen, helium, argon, ozone, and are present in meager amounts. So there are around like different gases, and all the air, which is also quite important for our life on the Earth. It's called as, it belongs to a part of atmosphere. And that's the fourth thing, which is called as a biosphere. So the narrow belt of interaction among the lithosphere, the hydrosphere, and the atmosphere where life exists is known as biosphere. Of course, all the places together where we live, right, where actually life is possible, and that's what called as a biosphere. It doesn't include humans alone. It includes animals, it includes birds, it includes plants, it includes trees, it includes everywhere where life is possible. That's where there is biosphere. So keep exploring. Don't actually think like this is the end of the lesson, right? Please feel free to explore. And that's the human nature, and that's the nature of the universe as well. Like the ever expanding universe, our knowledge should also improve too. And if you resonate with this specific thought, please drop a comment, and it means a lot to us. Please drop a comment if you watch this video, if you found this video helpful, and it's going to be helping us, motivating us to do a lot more videos too. And I have a final request for all of you. If you have watched till this point, please subscribe to our channel. I'll quickly show you how. So you could actually go to our channel on YouTube. It's the EduRise Global. Please go, and then there'll be a subscribe option right over here. So I'm not saying this because I'm the admin of this. So please go and subscribe to this specific video, and also like drop a comment, right? It means us a lot. It means a lot to us. It shows us that you are watching this video. It shows us that you are supporting, and this video is finding helpful for people, right? And that will motivate us to do a lot more videos. Thank you so much for engaging with this content. We hope this was helpful to you. And in fact, we're going to be releasing the Tamil version of the video quite soon. So please do watch out for it as well. And thank you so much for once again for your support. We hope this was helpful. See you on the next one. Tada, bye-bye. See you.